Alright, hello everyone, my name is Chiro and today I will be doing my first ever voiceover speed paint. As you can see on the my left side, oh my god, the left side it's a picture of Yeonjun from TXT, and I feel like I haven't drawn TXT fan art in a while, but when this concept pic dropped, I just had to draw it. It was actually like 12 a.m. or something. I saw the picture and then I stayed up till 4 a.m. drawing it because I make smart life decisions. And here you can see me doing the basic sketch for his face and like the eyes and hair. Why am I talking like this? But basically this is the cleaner version of the sketch I did before, and then I deleted the rough layer. As you can see, it's not like super anatomically correct. Like, I think I put his eyes a little bit too high, but now I am adding in the skin tone. But this is actually the version that I scrapped because I think I was trying to work too quickly with the piece, and then I was kind of rushing it, so I decided that to make the piece better, I should do it in grayscale first, because as an artist, I think one of my biggest weaknesses is value, and I decided to pace myself a bit more, because if you try to rush your drawing because you're impatient about the outcome, it'll like end up messing with your whole like streamline process. Okay, now that I have the basic blocks of grays in, I am doing more of the detailed stuff like the eyes and the lips. And also I am adding in the highlights. Recently I learned in my painting class to use whites sparingly, because most of the time the highlights are actually not super bright, but just relative to like the skin tone, maybe it looks pretty bright. I'm also like fixing the facial structure here because at the moment it doesn't quite look like Yeonjun himself. His face had to be fixed a lot because I just could not nail the proportions for some reason. Like, I really wanted it to make it look like him. And I am now doing a more detailed pass of the neck and the arms. So here I am kind of softening the edges on some of the changes in the plane. So like basically the way that the light reflects on it, and if the plane faces slightly away, that's a plane change. Also, I like the fact that I was able to kind of draw more like eye bags, like dark circles under his eyes type of effect. Like, I feel like I've never really fully tried to render that type of like detail, and I think the reference definitely helps. And here I'm just adding in more eye whites so that it becomes more of like a focal point because of the contrast of the pupil and the eye white. At this point it doesn't really look like him that much, but it's okay, later on I will get to it. And I think recently in art school, the thing that I've learned from painting class that's the most useful is observing the differences between light and dark, because my prof literally told me, well, this is like two different profs. This is from another course, but they said if a piece works in black and white, then it will work in color, because there's also this poster assignment I was doing, and there was no visual hierarchy. Like everything kind of looked like it had the same importance. So value is definitely something I need to work on as an artist. And then over here, I'm kind of being more thorough with the plane changes and adding in a little bit more highlight and trying to tweak the eye shape. But I feel like the more I worked on it, the more it ended up looking like Subin instead of Yeonjun. But also like some mixed ethnicity dude instead of like a Korean dude. Trying to draw someone to their likeness, but also trying to do a painterly kind of stylized style is kind of difficult. I think part of the reason why it didn't look quite like Yeonjun is because I made the hairline a little bit too high. Like if you compare the picture to my drawing, oh, now he looks like a bobblehead. I made the head too big. I fixed that later though. But yeah, I made the hairline a little too high. So I think I kept trying to fix the proportions of the eyes and the nose and the relationship between them, when the actual problem was like the forehead. But you know what? It was like 2 or 3 a.m. I'll give myself a pass. I am like breaking apart his face trying to edit it. Off of the topic of the actual drawing, I think my activity within the whole TXT fandom has not been as active as I was before, because I used to draw a lot of TXT fan art, but now that, well, I say that it's school, but also I guess I haven't been as into TXT as I was before. Like, I'll obviously still listen to their music, but I've been more chill and casual with it, which, you know, is good for like work-life, school balance, I guess. But yeah, I'm still pretty excited for their new album to come out, because I did like the last album, although Sugar Rush Ride isn't my favorite title song from them, but it was still a good song. I did like the B-side tracks though. But yeah, I'm curious to see what type of genre they're gonna do for their new album. I really like the is it reality? I forgot which section, which series of the concept photos I liked the best, but it was like the rock kind of band look. I feel like they've been doing that a lot recently. I don't know if like the next album is gonna be like completely different, but either way, I am excited to see what else they are going to show us. I do think that being a K-pop stan helps with like human anatomy though, because they have a lot of good pictures that you can use as reference, and especially with like portraits, because there are so many portraits, even like the selkas that they post. So I think I will definitely have to use that to my advantage when practicing, because I can just pull up some like picture that they have from their albums and just practice using that. But obviously, like, they have very idealistic features, but for practicing values, I think that's enough. But also drawing hair is one of my other weaknesses as an artist, so having a reference for that definitely helps. And I think at this point of the speed paint, it's actually looking more like Yeonjun himself. And when yeah, this is where I noticed that the head was freaking huge, so I had to reduce the size. Yeah, I'm still working away at the eyes. I think what helped make it look more like him is exaggerating the features, like making his lips a little bit wider, because I think if I made them like smaller, it would look like Subin, because he kind of has like that very noticeable like arc in his top lip as well. And I also kind of exaggerated Yeonjun's jawline to make it more chiseled. Like sometimes you kind of just have to like fake it to look more like the actual person than the actual picture in reality, but I think it definitely helped. And I kind of want to get more into doing black and white paintings first before I add the color, because I think that helped my process for this specific drawing a lot, so maybe I will do it more for my future drawings. And over here I am finally adding in the color. I just made a new layer on top of the black scale, the grayscale layer, and then I think I changed the layer opacity or the layer mode to like color or something like that. I added the local color, so like the color that you can most commonly see on the surface. And then I'm starting to add in some of the reflected lights, so some of the blue of the background is being reflected into the skin. So I'm adding in a light desaturated blue into the skin. And then I'm making the eye whites more noticeable, because I kind of want to make the eyes like a focal point. Using grayscale definitely helped structure it so much more than if I just started just with color, and it makes each step a lot easier because you're doing it one by one. And I think it also definitely helps with the like semi-realistic look. Obviously, one, because of the smooth blending, I guess, but also using a reference picture definitely helped. I don't think I could draw like this if there was no reference picture, which is normal, I guess, but I had this weird mindset when I was younger that using reference was like a weakness. Like I would try to remember how to draw everything just from memory, and then I was like, oh, using reference is such a pain. Now if I just remember how to draw it from the top of my head, I won't need reference. And now I am adding more saturated blocks of color into the hair just to add some variation, because if I just use one flat color it would be kind of boring. And then we're drawing the man's monolids, which are, I feel like, the highlights of him as like for his visuals, I guess. And I'm cleaning up the shapes for the ears and the side of his face a little more. And also you can kind of see how the hair is like a little bit of a mess, but I did leave that until one of the last steps to do. And I surprisingly had a lot of fun just drawing dark eye circles for him. I don't know, maybe because that's how I was feeling at the time at fucking 4 a.m. So I'm like, yeah, we're twinning, look at these dark eye bags. But I think it gives it more life in some way. I'm adding more details to the lips now, like differentiating the top lip from the tongue, and adding slight variations in the shadows, but also like not overdoing it, because I don't want the lips to be too detailed that it's distracting from the rest of the face. And I'm also getting into the details of the neck veins. I guess that's what you would call them. But to be honest, I could have put more work into it because even in the final finished piece, it looks really rough and it's a little confusing in that area, but whatever, it's already done, so I'll just know for next time. Oh, and for the t-shirt that his sleeveless t-shirt that he's wearing, I used a textured brush just to lay down some rough idea of what I wanted on his shirt. And I'm also using a kind of textured soft brush for the background, just for some simple color variations. Honestly, this is like kind of all over the place. I work on something for like a short while and then move on to something else. Now I am trying to block in the colors of the hair more, like the dark areas for the roots. I'm using a hair texture brush to add some of the wispiness of the hair and also the color variations. I think just using the hair textured brush didn't look very good, or it wasn't what I wanted to achieve with the look of the hair, because it looks like kind of like muddy and unstructured. So I did decide to use a more hard edge brush for some of the hair later. And I realized the collar for his t-shirt wasn't super accurate, so I wanted to fix that. And here I am paying more attention to the nose, because I think if I zoomed out, it was a little bit hard to tell like the details of the nose, and I wanted it to read better. And I kept the arm kind of blocky because it wasn't the focus of the drawing, but I still did the reflected color and the shading on the side of the arm. And here I'm using that same textured brush and lowering the opacity of the light blue I painted on his shirt, because it was kind of fighting for attention with his face, which was the focal point, so I toned it down a bit. And then I used a splatter brush to add some random splatters on the shirt, because that's what's in the reference picture. And here I am using a more or a less wispy brush to carve in the dark areas of the hair. I think this helped make it more structured and looked like it had a proper shape, rather just than loose pieces of hair on his head. But I was also trying to keep in mind the different... Oh my god, I feel like I've said color variation like 10 times in this video. The color differences in the highlights and also the shadows of the hair. It is kind of difficult though, because I was trying to make sure that the highlights were lighter in value than the rest of the hair, but also not too bright that it looked like it didn't belong there. And I'm adding some hard dark shadows behind Yeonjun because there is a very direct light in front of him, so the shadow wouldn't be as visible, but it would also be really dark behind him. And here I'm doing some more refined details on the lips, like adding in some magentas, like fuchsia color to make it more interesting to look at. And here I'm using another splatter kind of spray paint brush to add more texture to add more patterns to the shirt. And I also noticed that I missed like these two slits near the collar of his shirt, so I added that in. And then here I'm finally focusing all of my energy on making sure that the hair looks smooth but still has a shape that they are maintaining. I think it definitely helped that I used the dark colors to carve in the details, like where the shadows are, so it makes the hair in front pop out more. That's another thing I learned in my painting class. If you don't want to use too much white, then you're gonna have to make everything else around the subject matter darker so that the main focal point pops out more. Because using white in your drawing is very powerful and it can immediately lead your eye there, especially if the surrounding colors are dark. And here I'm trying to add more smaller strands of hair within the larger chunks, just to make it look like it has different sections, but not drawing the lines fully through the big strands of hair, because once you see like the beginnings of like a separation, I guess your brain can kind of just fill it in itself, so you don't have to overdo it with the divisions of the hair. And I'm also adding in some blue streaks at the ends of the hair, like where it meets the background, because the reflected light is also bouncing onto the hair. And I also brought down the value of the nose, like the left side, a tad bit, so that it reads better from afar. And I decided to write his name for the background, but then decided I didn't like it because it doesn't look very good. And instead, I just decided that I should add some random, like, water damage looking streaks in the background. And I wanted to make sure there wasn't like a weird tangent with his face and like the left side, so that's why I erased some of that large chunk. I am laser focusing in on the nose a lot, oh my god. Here I'm adding in the last layer of highlights in the hair just to make it pop out a little more. And overall, I'd say I was really happy with the drawing, considering the fact that I could finally let myself sleep. But I do like this kind of like porcelain like type of look that it gives to his face. Like there's like a light shine on it. And then for the background, I kind of just decided to write my username super big, my watermark really big, and then change the layer mode for it. I guess kind of as like a framing thing, but also just to, you know, watermark it for social media. And yeah, I think I would definitely do more of these portrait studies if I had more time, but it was really fun to draw Yeonjun, because it has been a hot minute since I've drawn him, or or like any TXT member for that for that matter. And thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye!